live, it's tricky. But if anybody's there, please say hello. Because there's half a chance then that we might actually be able to get some feedback and see if it's actually working. Is there anybody there? Come on, people. No, there's nobody there. Oh, hang on, we've got one person here. Right. Hooray, hello, whoever this person is, hello. Please say hello, just type a message, and because we need to, thank you, right. Yes, well, I've had 5 goes at trying to get the thing to switch itself on because it's just a fiddle and a fuss. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, lots of people arriving now. Fantastic. 22 people. Hooray, when it works, it actually works. All we've got to do now is make sure I can get the questions on my iPad, because otherwise they just flick on screen and then they're gone. So please bear with me and see if I can figure this out. I like tacos. Well done. Yes, nice title there. I'm going to watch the screen really carefully and see if I can pick up a question. In the meantime, let me just see if I can get something to appear on the iPad. Right, hi Chris, thought it wasn't going to work. It is just, I do them so infrequently because I get so frustrated with them that I do them even more infrequently or less frequently. They are a real faff to make work. But even now, I'm trying to actually get it to appear on my iPad so I can actually see the questions that you're asking. But please, they appear on the phone in front of me, which is actually recording and streaming this instantaneously, and then they're gone. So somebody please type a question. What I was going to suggest was, if you want to think of a product you're interested in, or either be a rifle or some ammunition or a cartridge or a chambering or a scope or an accessory, if you ask me a question, say, tell me about product X, Y. Hello, Jimmy Jim 69. Very nice. I'm going to put my reading glasses on because it's just so much easier, isn't it? If you ask me about a product, I'll maybe give you, 3 good things and 3 bad things if it's something I've actually reviewed and used over the years, because, it's not just the YouTube thing. I've been writing magazines for 15 years, so they do all add up. But unless I happen to be looking at that screen, the instant the question pops up, I can't see the question. So, ask me about a rifle. Say, rifle XYZ, have you ever used it? What are the good points? What are the bad points? This is a Q&A session, so I can do the answers if you can do the questions. Right, hi, Stephen, New Zealand, reload to Creedmore. One recently started, can you recommend entry levels firearm? Oh, wow, you see, that's the thing. Now they're coming up and they're just blasting past and I can't read them. Oh, it's so frustrating. Please just bear with me until I can figure out how to get the questions to appear on the iPad. Thompson Centre TCR, do they even exist anymore? Certainly not in the UK, I don't think. One of the first guns I ever had was a Thompson Centre. I reviewed it and then they asked for it back and said, we're not going to import them. What are your thoughts on the PARD 4K Night Stalker? Well, I have got one. It's behind that wall. It's sat in a box. I'm waiting for approval on using it. I have used it a little bit. Frankly, it doesn't really seem a lot different to the DS3570, but it came in the middle of the summer and I hardly had any darkness to try it in, and I'm waiting for the updated version that's going to be the full production version. Zeroing to a foul cold ball shot on it. Oh, if anybody knows how I can get the questions to appear on my iPad, it just drives me nuts. Because I can't. Has anybody ever smashed an iPad on screen? Because I'm going to. BA13 308 short barrel first. I did. That's a Bagara BA13. I don't know why I was saying. Long hourly scopes for chipper. Yes, I'm getting frustrated. Don't do it. What, break my iPad? I just don't know why my videos will not appear. I mean, I've got a 55-inch screen there in front of me and I can see it. I know, I'm trying not to sweat it, but I've had this problem going on for 3-4 years, and it's just, there's some magic button or magic sequence somewhere which makes the questions appear on my iPad. Oh, I may, hang on. Hooray, hallelujah, I've found the magic button. Right, well, we have a lot of questions now. Right, let me go. Steve from New Zealand, reloaded 23, 6.5 Creedmore, hunting recently started target shooting. Can you recommend entry level firearm? I'm thinking of Tic Tac A1. Well, if you're hunting, why do you want a TAC A1? Don't, just get a T3, T3 light or whatever, because that's a hunting rifle. A TAC A1 is a TAC. It's a big, great lump of stuff to carry around, which for hunting, and I think in New Zealand you've got some serious terrain. What do you want one of those for? Right, what do you know about the new HIC X range? I don't work with HIC. I won't have anything to do with them. Mark Billingham, Chris, do you still really rate the BA13 308? Have you tried the shorter version? Have you seen Mark Billingham? Have you seen my review on the BA13? It must be 2 or 3 years ago, and I did it probably in Rifle Shooter or Gunmart or something like that. Did I do a video on it on the channel? I can't remember. I quite like the BA13. It's a very inexpensive rifle, and if you're hunting within realistic range, it'll do everything you need it to do. It's not some kind of long-range tack driver, but then again, it's got certain ergonomic compromises to make for the fact it's a very short-handed, lightweight folding rifle. Right, AI80XC, worth the upgrade. Oh, AT XC, I don't know what the XC upgrade is. A good friend of mine had an AT and he's still got it, and is the XC, there's something to do with the back end stock on it, but I don't know if it's what he's got. He makes an absolute meal of using it, and it just seems like a huge, great clunky thing that he doesn't actually need, but some people will like it, some people won't. Even Chris, zeroing to a fouled cold bore shot on a deer rifle, should you or not? Well, Airhead, I suppose you're going to zero your rifle, let it go cold, and check it with a cold bore shot. But, you know, this is the thing about hunting. If you're actually within realistic ranges, it shouldn't be that critical. But if you think you're going to take a cold bore shot at 700 meters and go yee-haw, you've got a slightly different thing coming, and you probably need to learn a lot more about shooting before you're ever going to do something like that. So if it's just for a cold bore shot for just a regular deer stalking in the UK, you know, 100, 150 meter shot, something like that, you shouldn't have any huge problems. And the thing is, if your barrel is thermally stable, it should be at least 5, 6, 7 shots before it really starts significantly wandering off anyway, and some barrels are a lot better than others. Long hourly scope for a Chapper Rhino LBP, any recommendations? If it's a long barrel pistol, you'll need a pistol rifle scope. I don't really review them because there's just no call for them in my market area. So I would say go with one of the bigger manufacturers, and they'll probably make something decent. Loophole, Hawk. I can't really think. Probably Loophole, maybe Vortex or something. I don't know what Vortex makes. So I presume they will cover that area of the market, and I'd probably pick a Loophole. I've never had a bad Loophole scope, so and they have a massive range for all markets. Right. Right, Andy Wills, look on the bottom of the screen for 2 squares overlapping. Yeah, I tried, but they're not there. Review the new Impact M4. Yeah, I was supposed to have one come today, but it didn't come. So we shall see. Right, Stephen Adams, I use Lithgows for hunting. Tick attack will be target only. Oh, well, you put for hunting, didn't you, in the question? Oh, sorry, I hunt and recently started target shooting. Well, if you want a tick attack A1, yeah, it's a more target-y rifle, but it's not like a long... What do you call a target rifle? I mean, a target rifle used to be a 32-inch barrel 308 rifle with open sights on it. Target rifle can imply anything. Do you want to shoot 300 metres all day with a 223? Great fun. Do you want to shoot 600 metres all day with a 6.5 Creedmore or a 308? Great fun. Are you competing? You know, whatever fits within the rule book, really. TAC A1's a nice enough rifle to shoot pretty well. I've reviewed one. Most tickers shoot pretty well. If you like it, go for it. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Right. Smat. Has there been any news movement on the consultation regarding the deregulation of moderators? I don't know. I don't really cover legal matters because it's a finicky thing to get your fingers stuck in. I actually had my my licence renewal a couple of months ago, and the firearms officer who came out to do my they did a paperwork on the walk around the house with an app now pointing everywhere. I think they gave the impression that they are very much looking forward to when moderators come off the current system, because it's an awful lot of paperwork for, you know, not really something that's of any great danger element. I don't know, to be honest. Anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, they've been consulting on lead ammunition and that for backwards and forwards for eons, haven't they? So it'll be whenever it gets there. Follow your Basque magazine. They'll probably cover it because they're into finding something in the law. In fact, I've got it here. I'm not promoting that in any way, shape or form, by the way. It just pops up and it usually has some news in it that's legal related that Basque have done something about. But other than that, I have no idea. Right, Graham Allen. Evening, Chris. Hello, Graham. Any new air rifles caught your eye recently? No, nothing catches my eye. There's no gun shows. There's no stock anywhere of anything to get hold of. I did actually go and shoot my HW100 last night, though, at the club, because I thought it's 11th birthday. I'll go and put 20 pellets through it. And there we go. And something was funny going on with the scope, I think, because it wasn't shooting very well. Right. When I was at my rifle club last night, and I shot a Daystate, I think it was a Daystate Airwolf. When it was sort of, it was a 25 caliber FAC version. When it was actually working, it was working all right, but I wouldn't say it massively floated my boat, because it seemed like an awful lot of complication to do a lot less than a 2.2 rimfire rifle will do. But there we go. And it kept switching itself off, so you have to sort of flick the safety catch on and off to make sure it's sort of live. But it was nicely made. It did shoot well, but, you know, by the time you've carried that much gear anywhere, it should shoot well. Mark Billiam, can you recommend a good set of quick release mounts? Yeah, buy a Blazer. Other than that, get something with a Picatinny rail on it that's straight and flat, and buy a torque wrench and it's just as good. FFPS Wild 94. A fast way to get license variations done. Is that a comment, a question, a statement? I'm not really sure. It is however fast your local police licensing can do it for you. Steve Baumber, Chris, do you still use your PAR DS? Is it worth upgrade over the add-on NV007S? I do still use some DSs, yeah, I've got a few of them. I was out last week doing a bit of rabbit shooting on the 2-2 rimfire with one, which is my probably my favourite type of shooting, to be honest, for hunting purposes anyway. The DS compared to a 007 is just vastly different. The DS is like pretty much like using a regular daylight scope, but in the darkness. The 007S has got, you know, quite a lot of ergonomic compromises. You've got a lot of knobs and dials to twiddle and make everything line up and this and that and the other and blah blah blah. So a DS is just far simpler. It's far more intuitive. You get good performance with a 007. It's just trying to, you know, you're trying to make something of a daylight rifle scope into a night vision scope, and it just takes a lot more twiddling and tweaking with the adjustments and the controls to get the same image quality you get with the DS a lot faster. And because you've got the eye relief for the DS, you haven't got the kind of physical restrictions of the space in which it fits and things like that. So, you know, when the DS first came out with 100mm of eye relief, it was just breathtakingly nice to use compared to so many other night vision rifle scopes, and certainly anything that's an add-on, which of course robs all your eye relief space anyway. And it's all very well for airgun shooters who've got no recoil, but people say, oh, recoil, can't handle recoil. Recoil isn't about, you know, withstanding some kind of physical pain or effort or proving to your friends you've not got a horrific flinch. It's about not wanting to open your eyebrow every time you squeeze the trigger. But anyway, so I think a DS is worth the upgrade over a 007S without doubt, because it just gives you, it's just so easy to use. Can you recommend an FTR stock for Savage 12 LRPV 223? Hello Chris Bowen. Off the top of my head, no, but you'd have to see who's inletting for Savage these days, and I don't know, there's a lot of stagnation in the market, and I'm not seeing as much stuff that's around because there is so many custom options of things you can get. Manufacturers, I mean, Savage with the 12 Model 12, you know, they were making a Model 12 FTR rifle, weren't they? And it was absolutely groundbreaking, the fact that they were just latching on to this current trend of a new sport and immediately making guns to fit the rules perfectly. And Savage were really, really good at that. The LRPV you've got is slightly different because it's, you know, the left bolt port, the thing like that. Is it left bolt, right port, right bolt, left port? Can't remember. And any stock that fits a Model 12 should fit that, but Savages aren't really very popular in the UK. They never really were when Edgar Brothers had them a decade, 15 years ago. And now that Edgar Brothers have got Savage, they're mainly concentrating on the chassis rifles for PRS. So, do you actually want to shoot FTR within the rules? If you do want to shoot FTR within the rules, you will have to get a stock that suits the rules. But you can probably shoot FTR. I can't remember the rules on it because it must be 10 years since I run those rifles. You'll have to check out the rules, but I suspect chassis are what everybody's doing now because, you know, 10, 15 years ago, people wanted laminate stocks, they wanted composite stocks, but now everybody seems to want chassis. And, you know, I struggle, I was really annoyed actually because I actually have a review that I did of the first MDT chassis stock for Remington 700 about 12 or 13 years ago. It was in Gunmart or something like that. I cannot find the review because it will be hilarious to look at the pictures now when you look at the evolution that MDT have had from where they started back then to this kind of stuff they're making now. I mean, they're just overwhelming everything now because they're making gun stocks for air guns, for centerfires, rimfires, everything. So no, off the top of my head, I can't recommend one, but if you come to the pub tomorrow night and say, I've seen this one, what do you think to it? I will look at it in detail and I'll give you my forward critique on it. Right, Smat and at FFPS Wild D. I've had to do 2 like-for-like variations, not 2 choice. Both have taken around a week total to receive my FAC back. Okay. A week for getting a 1-for-1 done doesn't seem at all bad to me. hunting and shooting are about patience after all. Bernard McDonald, any thoughts on 223 versus 243 for general foxing? Yes, I do. I like them both, but I think there are pros and cons. If you're in a semi-urban area and you don't want to make quite as much noise, a 223 is ideal, especially if you're not pushing the distances and it's not particularly windy. If you're out, in the wilds and it's blowing a gale and you're thousands of yards, thousands of meters from the nearest residences and houses and anything like that, 243 will do what you need to do. To be fair, I don't think I've ever actually shot a fox at a distance where the 223 didn't quite happily handle it. And I've shot plenty of foxes close enough that I really didn't need a 243 for doing it. They both do a great job. The only thing really for the 243 is that it will buck the wind a lot better if you've got bad wind. You're using 75, 87 grain VMAX, something like that. It's awesome. It's what the 243 was designed for. I'm not into 58 grain because they are super fast, but again, at the end of the day, it's usually the crosswinds and the bucking around in that gets you before drop gets you. And of course, with all the latest digital night vision stuff with integrated ballistics, which are becoming frankly extremely common, well, it still comes back to the wind, doesn't it? Because that's that. So yeah, the 243, I think in like for like terms, a 243 barrel won't last as long as a 223 barrel. Ammunition cost is not massively different. One thing I would say is that generally speaking, if you've got to fumble around in the dark and load a single round into a rifle, there are more rifles that will happily load with a 243 rifles load at 243. 223s can often be a little bit more of a fumble in the dark. You could take Rifle X that's available in 223 and 243, and in the 243 it's a twin column magazine. You can top load the magazine, you can external load the magazine, and you can, you've just got so much more to get hold of if you've got to hand feed one quickly. 223, it's a bit more of a fiddle, and it's a single column magazine, and so that would give you a like for like comparison in a certain rifle type, and there are plenty of rifles like that. I mean, Steyr do twin column 223 magazines. Funnily enough, I had a CZ 600 American 3 or 4 weeks ago. That was a cracking rifle. I really like that rifle. It shot superbly well, and that's got a twin column 223 magazine. And the fact it's a twin column magazine doesn't necessarily help you when you're using them as a magazine rifle. It's just slightly indicative of the way that the rifle's a little bit easier to use if you've got to fumble a single round in. But anyway, it's a long and boring subject. I've written many articles that involve the comments, so it's something I've talked about a lot because I think it is quite interesting and important. To be honest, now, if I'm going out foxing, I just take the 223. I've got a couple of 223 rifles. I have got a 243 rifle as well, which I think is currently set with a daylight scope on it because it's been used through the summer. But I generally just take the 223 because I just don't want the massive noise. I don't want this, that, and the other. And I'm never really more than probably... I think the area where I've shot the most foxes in the last 2 or 3 years, I'm probably not more than 500, 300 metres from the nearest building. So nobody complains about the 223. To be fair, no one's really complaining about a 243, but I just don't feel the need to wear ear defenders with a 223 for foxing. Obviously, there's a mod on, but with the 243, I can't really criticise either. They've both got kind of little minor benefits, little minor... There's no downside to either of them, just some of them got slightly better benefits than others. But yeah, the 223 barrel will last you longer, it'll make less noise. But I don't know, what more can I say? Right, we've got a lot of questions jumping in now. Hang on, right, let me just try and catch up now. Hi Chris, have you considered coming to do varminting in South Africa with Peter Millan and Matt Dubber? No, frankly. I have met Matt Dubber, but A pal of mine actually was in South Africa 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he said he had a great time shooting baboons. His friends all went sort of on the intermediate plains game stuff, and he went wanted to shoot baboons, so that's what he did. And he's more of a sort of precision shooter than a hunting fan perhaps. But he had a great time. I have, the last 2 years running, had an invite to go to South Africa with a very good friend of mine, who isn't just a good friend because he's advertising on my channel, he's actually a friend of mine. But unfortunately, for various reasons, either he or I haven't been able to kind of quite make the dates overlap. But you never know, maybe one day. But I'd probably go for a little bit of intermediate plains game and maybe some varminting, I don't know. But I have no desire whatsoever to go all the way to Africa to shoot big air rifles. None at all. Yes. Right, Drunken Spacebar, new to air rifles and looking for something suitable for 100 grand for local club blinking. Can you recommend something good, please? Do you know what? I nearly sold my Varrock HW100 to buy the FX DRS, just the standard DRS. I reviewed it, a month, 6 weeks ago, in the, I think I had the polymer stock, didn't I? I think I'm going to get a walnut one soon as well, but there won't be fundamentally massive difference. That base level DRS, I think it was 750 quid, was it? 800 quid? I've always loved the HW100, but it's a bit dated, it's a bit Germanic, it's a little bit big and bulky. Certainly not compared to a lot of the modern air rifles, but that DRS, the standard, absolutely bog standard base level DRS, is one of the nicest air rifles I've ever shot. There you go. Watch the review on it, it's on my channel. You could watch the video and it will tell you. Brett Hazel, hi Chris, can I get your opinion on Tikka T1X? I'm having accuracy issues, shot half inch at 100 yard out the box, it's shot roughly 800 rounds tops. Now it shoots groups up to 3 inches at 100 yards. I don't know. Have you cleaned it? Have you damaged it? Have you got bore fouling? Have you got dodgy ammo? I just don't know. There are many reasons, some of which are extremely simple things that you might have just looked beyond. Is the scope loose? I was shooting with a guy last night, and when we actually got his rifle sorted, it was an air rifle, but when we got it sorted out, it went from absolute zero to almost complete hero. And it was, people moan at me because I'll pick a rifle up by the scope, and I really don't care for what they say, because I have on more than one occasion picked a rifle up by its scope, and you can feel a slight click, and you feel it. And that slight click, and get hold of the rifle, get hold of the scope, give them a wobble against each other. Because if you can feel any movement at all, which will be a physical, like it's tiny little tapping movement, you won't feel flex or bend, but you'll feel that slight looseness. And if you can feel that, well, instantly you've got problems. And this is a rifle last night. I gave it to the guy and I said, right, get hold of that rifle. Don't hold the bipod, hold the barrel, the air bottle, whatever, something solid on it, not something flexible. Get that, get the scope. So he's got the barrel in one hand, he's got the scope in the other, and he's twiddling it against each other. And he said, "You're right, I can feel movement." And there were other problems as well as that. But when I actually undid the scope mounts on the 13mm nut with my fingertips, I said, I suspect you might want to tighten things up a little bit more. And you know what? That and a couple of other, tightening all those things up, got it shooting correctly, putting the inclined rail on the correct way around, then got the elevation back, which is what we needed to have with it, and everything became happy. So check out all the scope mounts, this, that, and the other. Make sure there's nothing stuck between the stock and the barrel. It can sometimes be the simplest little things, but people are looking for the most complicated problems. Yes, clean it, check your barrel, check your ammunition, check your crown, because if you've damaged the crown, that can be a huge problem. Daft as it sounds, have you got a sound moderator, suppressor? Have you got it bashed and bent it? Are you clipping the moderator? Clipping the sound moderator or suppressor is one of the absolute, that will send bullets everywhere. 3 inches, to be honest with that, would be fortunate. So yeah, just check out some of the simple mechanics of what's going on before you worry too much about the chemistry and the physics of what's going on down the barrel. Check the mechanics first. Right, usually 4 inch square and 1 fly. Try different types of ammo. Luke Tuttiet, what's your opinion on spending money on a new barrel or just getting rid of the rifle and getting a new rifle? That's an interesting one. It depends what rifle it is. If you've got, a hand-built Mauser 98, from Holland and Holland or or something like that, I would probably have a new barrel put on that. If you've got just a common or garden hunting rifle that you've been happy with and it's past its best, just buy the same rifle again. Not all actions can easily be rebarreled. I mean, back in the days, nobody had Remington 700s and Winchester and things like that. Yeah, you just haven't get a new barrel put in. But some barrels now are pretty much factory made, and they're barrels are sweated in. They're put in heat under heat and hot one side, cold the other. It goes in, shrinks in, and when it cools down, it all tightens up, and that's it. It's done. It's done for life. That's usually on things where you've got or often on things where the actual bolt lugs lock into abutments on the barrel, not the action. But don't worry too much about that. Your gunsmith will tell you. Get a price on doing it from a gunsmith, and it will either delight you or terrify you. But your local gun shop will tell you what an equivalent new rifle is going to cost, and it's probably, if it's just for hunting, how much 1-0 accuracy and precision and this, that, and the other, and blah blah blah. I've got a group in my wallet that's tiny. Is necessary. I personally, I would not now spend money rebarreling anything other than a rifle that's already a custom rifle. I just don't feel the need for it for myself. But we all have our own personal needs, wants, and requirements. Dino Daniels, what's your best 223 varminting projectile weight? Well, there you go. And there's another word, varminting. That can mean an awful lot of stuff. I suppose when I started shooting, varminting was from the US and it was prairie dogs at sort of 600, 700, 800 yards. Varminting now is just attributed to anything that's basically pest control then. But it depends on the twist rate of your barrel. I've got a 223 Wild rifle with an 8-inch twist rate barrel, and that absolutely adores 77 grain Sierra tipped Match Kings, TMKs, yeah, tipped Match Kings. But I've not been able to get hold of any for about 2 years, and I've run out of them. I've got some 69s, and it'll shoot those fine. I've got, funnily enough, that CZ600 American that I had the other week, again, that had a 9-inch twist barrel, which seems on paper a little bit borderline, but the Hornady 73 grain ELD-M will work in that barrel. It's specified to work in a barrel of a 9-inch twist rate, and it did, and it shot superbly well. And I didn't do any great long-range shooting with that rifle, with that bullet, but I have used that bullet in the factory cartridge, the 73 grain ELD-M, in my 223 Wild, and it works superbly well in that as well. So that's a nice bullet with a little bit more flexibility on twist rate. You might get away with a 9. An 8's a good definite though. But yeah, the 73 grain ELD-M. But again, Varmin, Match, I don't know, Hornady will do a podcast on it and they'll tell you 100 things under the sun about which bullet to use for this, that, and the other. And they've got some new bullets out as well. I haven't physically seen any of them yet. I mean, I did go to the factory last year, but I was literally there about a day or two before the big release of a lot of the new stuff they launched last October. And we were told about stuff, but we didn't really sort of see it or use it. At the end of the day, they're doing a lot of stuff. So go on the Hornady website, you'll see all the new stuff on the new bullets. But I'll tell you for now that their bullets do work well. And the Sierra tip Match King works really well. So I have got video of it in use, but I don't generally choose to show gratuitous video like that. But it's proof of the pudding that it does work significantly well. And for varminting, think Prairie Dogs, Dog Be Gone, all those videos from back in the day when you had to have a VHS cassette. Yeah, right. You should be barbecuing outside in this weather and leave live chat for rainy days. Nice videos, much appreciated. Well, I would, but it's cold and dark and it's a Tuesday night, so not really barbecue stuff. My my farming friends are out getting straw in, and one of my other friends is out working, and my other friend is doing work as well. So unfortunately, no one barbecuing. Gary sighs, you've message retracted. What did he say, Gary? Probably nothing horrific at all. Greetings from Dublin. Hello. Gary sighs, oh, he's back again. Hi, Chris. Hope you're good, mate. Looking forward to seeing through the new TIC 1280. Have you had a chance yet, mate? No, and I won't be, Gary, because I don't work with HIC. Mo Sharan, hi, Chris. What are your thoughts on Howard rifles, please? They seem to be very popular across the pond. Well, they're made in which pond? Because I mean, they're across the pond from anywhere. They're made in Japan, aren't they? Howards are all right, to be fair. They're all right. You don't pay a fortune for them, and they've got quite a lot of different variations. I mean, I'm not sure where you actually are. You say across the pond, as in that's America. So maybe you are here in the UK, in which case it's Highland Outdoors that import and distribute them. There are a lot of variations on them, but they're generally all right rifles. They're generally all right rifles. They're a little bit, the twin bolts, so you've got 90-degree bolt lift. They've got the hacked triggers on them, which are a lot better than the old triggers. The stock options are going to make the biggest difference to you, but one thing I would say is that so many rifles now have gone onto a 3 or a 6 lug bolt, because you just, I mean, even the twin lug ticker's got a 70-degree lift instead of a 90. And it's funny, you note it now, because I tried to shoot with a baseball cap on, and of course with a 90-degree bolt I knocked my own baseball cap off. Having said that, I've got 4 Remington rifles on my own. They've all got 90-degree lift bolts, so it's not exactly the end of the world. But yeah, Howards are fine. You'd be all right with one. Good friend of mine's got one in 223, and it never fails to do the job. I like the 22 Hornet. Unfortunately, finding ammo in the States is hard, so I either go up to 223 or down to 22 WMR for pesting. 80% of the time, 22 WMR, all shots within 150 yards. Good. I've never done a huge amount with 22 Hornet, but I would say that the 17 Hornet is one of my absolute favourite cartridges. The one rifle and calibre you regret getting rid of. I can tell you straight away. I very, very stupidly sold my first ever air rifle. In 1991, my father had a heart attack, and he went into hospital, and he ended up having a heart bypass before Christmas. And my mum decided to let me have an air rifle and sent me with my uncle to buy the air rifle. So I got my air rifle, and it was a Varrock HW19 177 Theoben gas ram, and I loved that rifle. But when I was probably 20 odd years old, and I was involved heavily in archery and this, that and the other, and travelling all over the place shooting archery, I sold it, and kind of wish I hadn't now. Other than that, I'm fairly indifferent to them all. There are some I like more than others, but there are none I couldn't live without. So there you go, David Becker. Simon Hamilton, strange that USA shooter can hit prairie dogs at 1,000, but former presidents. Oh yeah, well, you're going to bring politics into it. Matt T. Drummer, if you had to pick 2 calibers, one for foxes, Chinese water deer and muntjac, and one for rogue fallow and bigger, what calibers would you choose? Well, 223, simple, easy to feed, ammo's everywhere, variety on it. I'd have something with the fastest twist barrel, a fast-ish twist barrel though, because I like being able to shoot heavier bullets. As for the big stuff, I don't know. Actually, this maybe goes back to another question actually, because I think I've only ever owned one 3006, and I kind of didn't really do a lot with it. And I got rid of it. Not because there's anything wrong with it, I just decided I didn't need it. But I've done a lot of wild boar shooting with 3006, and 3006 is, no American will argue with this, it is just a sublimely, deliciously capable, smooth feeding, smooth shooting, plenty of grunt if you need it, plenty of speed if you need it. It just works so well. And I'd probably have one of those for the UK, but I've got a 300 Win Mag, so I don't need a 3006. So I'd probably have a 223 and a 3006. Call me old school, but what more do I need? Yeah, right. Sorry, I'd have a what's new? I'd have a 22 Creedmore and a 7mm PRC. There you go. But the ammunition's all made by the same companies, and the 3006 has been what it is because it just never has shown fault, and the 223 is the same. And let's face it, both of them started out as military rounds, didn't they? So, ish, maybe. Not sure on the 223, can't remember. Right. What rifle and caliber would you take for a plains game hunt to Africa? I'd probably take 300 Win Mag. Although my 300 Win Mag, it's still a great rifle, but it's not exactly a very portable rifle. I bought it for doing daft things with a long time ago at silly distances, and it was great. It's a bit heavy for carrying around, but I mean, I once went out one day and I think I shot 8 fallow deer in one day with it, and it was just superb because it's just got grace, space, and pace. It's like a Jag, isn't it? And but the 3006 would have done the same. The 308 would have done the same. I like 30 cal. I don't really, okay, I've got 3 6.5mm rifles. I've only got one 30 cal rifle, but I do like 30 cal for hunting because one thing I will say about a bullet is it never gets lighter as it flies, but it will get slower, and all bullets get slower as they fly. So if you start off with a bit of weight, well, you're not losing any weight, are you? But that's my unpopular opinion. Plains game to Africa. So I suppose, 300 Win Mag. If you're into the bigger plains game, I'd go 375, but that's not really plains game. Then you're sort of getting towards the dangerous game, aren't you? But it's not something I've got huge experience with at all. So I would probably go and say, Andre, pass me a gun, I'll shoot whatever you think's best. And he would just give me a gun and I'd just shoot what he said. So there we go. Right. Which question am I on now? Dave G, 177 or 22 sub 12. What do you prefer, Chris? 177. If I was only rat shooting, I might go 22, but for general, 177. But Steve Baumber, thoughts on 6.6 by 55 Swede. I presume you mean 6.5 by 55 Swede foxing daytime. Any advice on bullet weight? Well, I've got a 6.5 55 Swede. I'm not sure I've actually ever shot a fox with it, but I've shot plenty of foxes with 6.5mm bullets projected at a similar speed to what the 6.5 55 would be doing. Depends. I mean, are you hand loading or are you factory loading? Or are you using factory ammo? Because you don't really need a huge weight, but at the end of the day, it's if you're using one rifle for everything, why swap your ammunition from what's good for deer and swap to fox? Just use it for foxes as well. I kind of liked the 120s when I was shooting the Swede. I don't know, maybe it's just because it's in my head I could push it nearly 3,000 feet per second. Did everything it needed to do. It was big enough for red deer, and it would certainly handle foxes. When I've shot foxes with my 260 or a Creedmore, I've probably been using bullets somewhere in 120 to 130 grain range in 6.5mm. They all do the job. It's plenty of gun for a fox. It's more gun than you need for a fox. But obviously I understand if you're out stalking, you want to shoot fox, it's fine for that. But it's more than is absolutely necessary. So you don't really have to be that worried about exactly which bullet because it's going to do the job, providing you shoot it right. Right. Yes, Mr. I probably can't say this. I'll probably get banned, Mr. Hash. Well, anyway, it ends in YT. 17 Mach 2, is it dying off? Funny enough, I was with a partner gun shop the other day. Was toying with buying one, and I said it never really did a great deal. And although the gun shop said they had quite a lot of ammo for it, that might be the rest of the ammo that's left in the whole universe for all we know. I don't know. I know, like others, they had problems with cases, but that's seemingly been sorted. But have they even made any ammunition since that's been sorted with the 17 HMR? Because 17 Mach 2, I don't actually know if I've ever even shot one. I've seen a few, but it's somewhere halfway house between a 22 rimfire, 22 LR and a 17 HMR. I suppose it was just another case of the 17 HMR was a groundbreaking round. It was a superb development. It was truly innovative. It was like nothing we'd had before. And it's a case of, I often say that, you know, somebody makes a 2 and somebody makes a 4, so somebody else thinks, well, let's make a 3 to go in the middle. And 17 Mark II, was that all it was? Just a kind of halfway house, just because they thought, oh, if we fill a gap, someone will want to jump in the gap? I don't know. But I've not seen any ammunition for it for sale. I don't see it on price lists. I don't see it, you know, on trade price lists. I'm sure there probably is some somewhere, but I don't know where. Right, Silvano Cursar, 8x68 for Plains game with Swift A-frame. That would sound like a very ideal thing, yes. But as I say, I'm probably not going to do it, and it's not something I've experienced of anyway, but 8mm sounds quite ideal. Dino Daniels, what's your favourite equipment for recording footage through the scope? Not. I don't like doing it really. It's just faff and hassle, and I can't even think of the name of the ones off the top of my head. I had a scope mate recently, but it's alright if you want to do that. But the thing is, if you want to go hunting, you want to go shooting, you want to be concentrating on the hunting and the shooting, not fiddling around and twiddling with knobs and focusing things and things being out of focus when you get home, or, you know, nudging something, the orientation's wrong. And I don't know, is it Trigger Cam 2.1? I mean, I've got one of those, and that's a pretty tough beast, because that's, you know, made of serious materials. And it does work pretty damn well, but you do have to make sure you've got it focused for this. If you want to produce premium footage, you've got to manually focus that the unit for the exact eye relief that the scope is presenting at the exact magnification you will be using. Yes, you've got a bit of a range on it, but if you focused it at low mag and then you're trying to film on high mag, it will look funny. And the thing is, you can only do that if you use the Wi-Fi and put it through to your phone and then look at it on your phone and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I want to go shooting and hunting. I don't really want to be messing around with my phone. I spend enough time messing about with it. So yeah, the Trigger Cam works, but you've got to, it just becomes another tool to do a job that you don't really need to do for anything other than showing your mates what you've done. Right, Yusuf Desai, 6.555 or 6.5 Creedmore, buy whichever one you want. They both project a similar bullet at a similar speed in a similar way. I've answered this question so many times. The Creedmore is a slightly more modern packaging of a fairly similar external ballistic production with a slightly different internal ballistic solution. I don't know how to put it. Put it this way, I've got a Swede, I've got two 260 Remingtons, and I've shot and used loads of Creedmores. I wouldn't necessarily, none of them have any great benefits other than the fact that ballistically the benefits are, in my opinion, none externally, because they all project similar bullets, and rifles can vary, barrel twist rates can vary, chambering can vary, but they've all got about the same amount of oomph about. I've done the most hand loading with the 260s, because those are both serious precision rifles and hunted as well. The one thing I'd say about the Creedmore is, of any 6.5mm rifle chambering, it's the one you'll probably get the most ammunition options for, because it is modern, it is new, it is in full production, it is here to stay, and it is very, very, very well produced for by every ammunition manufacturing company. So in that respect, buy a Creedmore. Cool guys, will still have a Swede there. Right, hi Chris, looking to upgrade my T3X stock. Looked at the KRG Bravo, but have you seen anything you'd recommend? Well, for what? Do you want a PRS rifle? Do you want a chassis? Do you want a hunting rifle? Because if you want a hunting rifle, just leave the stock that's on it. If you want, I often say to people, if you want to spend a lot of money on a product but you don't know what you want, well, you see my point here. It's, you know, you've got to do the research and really decide what you want and need it for. Because I see all these people, you know, some guy, so in fact 2 people on a video the other week complained that a PRS rifle or something, I think it was a CZ600 MDT, and they said, well, that's too heavy for hunting, isn't it? It's like, yeah. And I'm going to say it, no shit, Sherlock, it is too heavy for hunting. But it's not supposed to be a hunting rifle, is it? And you know, that just shows to me that somebody's just not, I don't know, they think they're going to get, I just don't understand the logic behind them. It's not a hunting rifle. So my point comes back to the fact that if you like that stock and it seems to do what you want, then go with that stock. But people don't send things like that for review because they're sold in very, very small quantities, and they don't want to make a new product a second-hand product. And usually you've got to customise things slightly to make stocks and things fit. You know, it could be a difference in recoil or pocket, things like that. So if you like the KRG Bravo, go for it, if it suits what you want. Yusuf Desai, dream hunt. I know exactly what my dream hunt is. I am doing it right now. I can think of 4 people in this world who know exactly what my dream hunt is, and that's that. So, yes. Thanks for all the reviews you have done for the CZ457 models. Picked one up recently and it's great. They are, aren't they? They're superb. They are just superb. Well, to be fair, I sorted out a 452, a used 452 for someone I know just the other week, and you think, there's just nothing wrong with them, is there? I mean, a bit more dated or whatever, but you know, they're so inexpensive and they're just still so effective. But the 457 will be the same as that in another 20, 30 years' time. People will pick up 20, 30-year-old 457s and just go, wow, didn't they make these well? There's just, you know, pick your stock, pick your caliber, pick your barrel profile, and you're good to go, aren't you? It's like a rimfire blazer in that respect, almost. You just pick the gun. You can build exactly from the factory as you want it to suit your needs. Does the 223 outperform the 222 for foxing? Technically, ever so slightly, yes, because I think there's about 100 feet per second, like for like barrel length chambers, is something that there's about 100 feet per second difference in it. But I've shot foxes. I used to have a 222. My ex-wife actually still has the number plate that says 222 Rem on it. Yeah, 222 does, you know, you shot thousands and thousands and thousands of foxes before anybody had a 223 really. And you know, what's 100 feet per second that you can't separate by 20 yards of shot distance? I don't know. That's just a ballpark guesstimate off the top of my head. But I never didn't shoot a fox because I had a 222. Put it that way. I would say though, my first foxing rifle was a 22-250, and the guy I started out foxing with, he'd had 222s and 223s and everything in the past, and he was a little bit strong-minded, but he just said he won't use any of them. He'll only use 22-250 because it just whacks them. And it, to be fair, it does. It really does. But you know, bigger guns will always, you know, speed in a varminting rifle or a pest control rifle. Speed is what makes the biggest difference. And you know, a 222 is probably pushing a 40 grain bullet off the top of my head at about 3,000 feet per second, maybe. A 22-250, you're adding nearly 1,000 feet per second to that, if not more. And the 223 is probably what, about 3,300. But again, it all depends on barrel length. You know, you put a long barrel on a 222, and it'll probably outperform a shorter barrel 223. So just bear that in mind. I once had a 32-inch barrel 308, and it produced 300 Win Mag velocities. Barrel length, and so many people want to sell short barrels, and they do lose velocity. So just bear all these things in mind. Right, Simon Hamilton, catastrophic failure. Would you want to holding a European-made rifle or American rifle? Survivability to the shooter. I don't know. You're talking about being in some kind of war now. I don't know. European-made rifle. I can't think of any American rifle I would rather have than a European rifle. yeah, can't do it really. Can't do it. Whether that be an Accuracy International, a Sauer, a Mauser. I had one of the new Sauer 505 start this year, and that thing was just stunning, stunning. The 404 was always a little bit, wasn't quite sure, but the 505, that really was a nice rifle. But it's expensive, and it's not more accurate than anything that's, there's things that are probably half the price, but it was deluxe, and it was very nice to use. If you tell me I need if you want to play precision, I just have an AI. I just don't know. I can't think of an American rifle that absolutely says, come here, at all, in comparison. And I think if you look at the market in the UK now, the American rifles are not what they were. Remington's dead. Savage is very small. Name of the other big brands, you've got some of the Seekins. Seekins make a nice rifle, but it's fundamentally a kind of upgraded Remington 700 footprint. They make good, the triggers are good, and the trigger text, things like that. So Seekins make a nice rifle, but it's not really any advancement or any it's not really any kind of improvement over a tricked out Remington 700, for example. Whereas if you look at something like a Sauer 505, you've got the 3-lug bolt, you've got this, you've got the other interchangeable barrels, stock options. This is hunting rifles, or are you talking about military rifles? So where do you want to go with it? Where do you want to go with it? But I like European rifles. I am a European. I may not be in the EU or whatever it is, I don't know, but I'm certainly on the continent of Europe. Right. The last Savage put fair point. I can't remember what that was answer to. Dino Daniels. Will a chassis system or stock improve accuracy on the Tikka T3X? Well, it all depends on how well it fits in it. Because I came about in the precision shooting world when if you wanted a rifle to shoot well, you got a good stock, you got a good action, you got a good barrel, and you got a good bedding job. And I would still say I still prefer a bedded rifle in a I've got several rifles, Remington 700 semi-customs bedded into Macmillans, and I'm very happy using them. I did the bedding jobs myself. I'm not saying they're the neatest bedding jobs in the world, but they're certainly very functionally effective. And the thing is, if you get a rifle, I'll tell you a little test now. I once did a video on this if you search way back on the channel, but basically, if you tighten your action screws up to the correct tension, get a pencil and draw a pencil line down the end of the barrel and the fore end, and then you actually put your Allen key or whatever in, and you slacken off the front action screw. See if that barrel rises up out of the front of the stock. Because if it does rise up out the front of the stock, you've effectively been stressing the stock and the barreled action to tension them together. If you take a fully bedded rifle and you slacken off that front Allen screw or whatever it is, torque screw, doesn't really matter, one or the other, that barrel doesn't, if the bedding job's been done correctly, that barrel does not move. And frankly, it's like, a bedding job is like putting a stick in a river and freezing the river. It is held perfectly with no stress. I'm not saying that the modern machining capabilities aren't stratospherically improved over what happened in the 1950s and 60s, but I've still had plenty of chassis rifles where you can detect a bit of bedding stress where it fits together. And everybody thinks, CNC machining. Well, just remember your toaster's a CNC toaster because that's controlled by that as well. And you've got a CNC microwave too, and probably a CNC oven and a CNC washing machine. Even your vacuum's probably CNC. So doesn't necessarily make up for the fact that tolerances still stack together and designers don't always have the best designs. I can think of a product I was using yesterday where the designer has gone to the nth degree with amazing tolerances, virtually seamless fit between components. The problem is you undo it and it won't come apart because it's virtually made itself an interference fit and you can't get the thing off. So you undo the quick release and you actually end up having to put a screwdriver in the slot and wiggle the jaws of it open because they are such tight tolerances. So a tolerance is always the best thing. No. Steve Baumber, thermal for spotting and NV for shooting, or thermal for both? Which side of the fence are you on? The former side. Thermal for spotting, night vision for shooting. I agree, it's a lot easier shooting with thermal, but I just feel more confident with night vision. The only time I would accept from that is ratting, because, you know, I think you can tell the difference between something you can't shoot and a rat on a thermal scope. But I've been too many times where you look at something and it's, you know, you realise what a mistake you could have made. So that's just my opinion. Friendly Ball, evening Chris, is there a consistent front add-on? The thing you got to remember about front add-ons, I don't know where you're from, but the thing you got to remember about front add-ons is that they're often done purely to circumvent legal factors about not allowing a night vision or thermal imaging product to be attached directly to the rifle, but it can be attached to the scope. And at the end of the day, it's a massively ergonomically and optically compromised system. Yes, some of them work, but I think it's harder to make them work. You know, you got the problems of reaching out and controlling things, and the interaction between the actual physical connection between the product and the objective bell of the scope, whatever. So yes, they work, but I just think it's harder to make them work in the often fast-paced scenario that hunting can be. So if that's the case, I would personally always want to go with an integrated unit. Dino Daniels, do you think a 12mm group from 100 metres is for a 223 rem? Well, a 12mm group at 100 metres is distinctly sub-MOA, sub-half MOA. 100 metres is 109 yards. 12mm is smaller than half an inch anyway. So yeah, a 12mm group at 100 metres is quite satisfactory. Quite satisfactory. Right, well that seems to have come at a nice time. That's 9:15. Right, I'm going to go. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for the help, and we shall hopefully maybe next time take less than 20 minutes for it to catch up and me to get the questions appearing on my iPad so I can read them. I have actually just ordered fibre broadband, so my cable is outside. It's not gone through the wall yet, but next week maybe we'll have fibre and speed things up a little bit and see what's going on with that. And as I say, the evenings are here, you know, the nights are in now. Be out doing a lot more foxing, night shooting and stuff. But again, when the weather's miserable, I'll be probably doing these, and I'm probably going to do them on a Tuesday night. I keep saying I'll be consistent and do them more frequently, but it doesn't always work. But there we go. Right. Thank you all for watching. Sleep well. Sweet dreams.